Bloomberg Audio Studios. Podcasts, radio, news.
Let me tell you, we have a new star. A star is born, Elon.
Pumped up on Mars, juice, and ketamine.
He is the Thomas Edison plus of our age.
Probably his whole life is from a position of insecurity. I feel for the guy.
I would say 98% really appreciate what he does, but those 2% that are nasty, they are out there in full force.
We are meant for great things in the United States of America, and Elon reminds us of that.
I'm very disappointed in Elon. I've helped Elon a lot.
Welcome to Elon Inc., Bloomberg's weekly podcast about Elon Musk. It's Tuesday, July 29th. I'm Max Chafkin. David Papadopoulos will be back next week. I've been assured, but we've got one more week together. And this week, we're going to take a little break from our Jealousy series, where we've been interviewing some of the authors of stories that we've really admired, because we've had a slew of Elon news. That starts with Tesla. Last week, we had an earnings call, and it was, let's just say, it was a bit of a downer. Sales are plummeting, and Elon admitted during the call that the company is in a really tough spot.
I mean, does that mean like we could have a few rough quarters? Yeah, we probably could have a few rough quarters. I'm not saying we will, but we could.
But you can't disregard that Musk magic, as we'll talk about later in the show when we discuss the progress at Neuralink, a big announcement with the Boring Company, as well as a bunch of sort of news around Tesla that is kind of pointing up. We had the X takeover event. This is essentially a fan event in San Francisco, where a much more upbeat version of Elon called in to talk all about the bright future ahead for Optimus.
Hypothetically, if Tesla was making 1 billion of these a year at scale, and at scale, the cost gets lower and lower. So maybe it'd be like on the order of $80,000. I'm just guessing here. That's 30 trillion in revenue.
Insane.
You know, that's a long way to go between here and making 1 billion robots a year.
And so to puzzle through those signals, some positive, some negative, I'm sitting here with Bloomberg Elon Musk reporter Dana Hull. Dana, how are you?
I'm doing great, Max. Great to be here.
Dana, you and I were live blogging the Tesla earnings, as we like to do. Tell our listeners how it went for Elon on Wednesday. We're recording this on Tuesday of the following week.
Well, you know, it's interesting. Whenever there's a Tesla earnings call, so much of it is really about Elon's mood and what he says. And you and I, because we work at Bloomberg and we have a terminal, we can like watch the stock trading in real time as he's speaking. And what I noticed is that like the earnings were humming along. It was like sort of a bad quarter, but everyone kind of expected it in terms of the sales being down and blah, blah, blah. But like as soon as Elon was like, could we be in for a few bad quarters? Yeah, we could. Then you like sort of saw the stock go, and like his whole narrative thesis, which is that like the future is all about autonomous and robotaxis. Like he didn't really say anything new about expansion that got investors excited. And then I think more and more investors are starting to realize that the core automotive market is just in a world of trouble because of major policy shifts in Washington. You know, President Trump and his administration, like there's 3 things that are really hitting the company in a bad way. The $7,500 tax credit for electric vehicles ends September 30th. The CAFE standards, which are kind of underpin our whole effort towards electrification, is being completely upended. And then like the EPA is going after California's clean air waiver. So like all of the things like the regulatory credits that Tesla has relied on for profits for many quarters, or that has really underpinned their profits, is up in the air or going away.
Dana, the thing for me about this call was that like Musk in the last few quarters has been talking a lot about robotaxis. This time he barely talked about the actual Austin robotaxi, this thing that we've been talking about on the show for the last few weeks, and mostly used it as a reason to argue that the, you know, ADAS system, the assisted driving technology that you get when you buy a normal Tesla, is good. And it felt like almost an acknowledgement that robotaxi thing in Austin was kind of what we thought it was, like a demo, a stunt, but like so far from being a real business.
Yes. The call was a little hard to listen to. Like the sound quality is always so bad, but I think one analyst asked them how many miles they've driven in Austin, and it was something like 7,000 miles, which is not a lot. I mean, it means like they still have a fleet of, what are we thinking, like 12 to 20 cars? And then the other thing is that this weekend we sort of expected that they would soft launch or launch their Bay Area service. But that hasn't quite happened yet either. Like, it could happen any minute, so I don't want to say no. But, like, in California, like, you need to jump through a lot more hoops from a regulatory perspective before you actually get a permit to do fully autonomous driving. And Tesla doesn't have that permit.
Okay, one last thing I want to bring up before we move on to the confab this weekend, which is that, we've had a sort of long-running discussion on this show about this so-called low-cost model. Remember, this was the Model 2 that many people, especially many investors, were really excited about. And there was this vague thing that happened, was it, Dana, like about a year ago, when Reuters reported that Elon had canceled this model. Elon said he hadn't. We have believed, and this is partly based on reporting you and Ed Ludlow had done, back when this happened, that there was not really going to be a Model 2, that there was going to be a cheaper version of the Model Y. And it's been basically months since then. We finally got confirmation on this podcast. We had a analyst say, hey, what's the low-cost model going to look like? And you had, I think it was a CFO said, hey, that's not an appropriate question, or started to say that. And Elon just jumped in and said,
the Model Y. They just lift the cat out of the bag there.
So I guess that mystery is solved.
Yeah, and like fans are still pushing back. Like, that's not exactly what he said. You're taking what he said out of context. But yeah, I mean, like, this is by all accounts, including what Elon said on the call, like some kind of decontented, cheaper, more affordable Model Y. How do they make it more affordable? I don't know. Like, do they strip down the interior? Does it not have a roof? Is the sound system worse? Like, are the seats crappier? I don't know. There are a lot of ways to make a car more affordable. Maybe it's more affordable and better in some ways, but it's not like a new model. It's not like Franz has some like brand new spanking design that he's been molding in clay in Hawthorne. Like, so I think that people just really need to disabuse themselves of this notion that this is a brand new car. I mean, Elon is tired of making cars. Like, the future is autonomy and Optimus. Like, in the future, you won't even buy a car. You'll just like hire one.
Okay, let's talk about the future, because we heard the clip at the top, Elon Musk talking about the gazillion units of Optimus he's expecting to sell. We've seen a lot of sort of crazy predictions around this stuff floating around. But Dana, talk about this event that happened over the weekend, the X Takeover.
Yeah, so this is an event that's put on every year by the Tesla Owners Club of Silicon Valley. This year it was in San Mateo, which is in Silicon Valley. So it was easy for me to get to. It was on a Saturday, and I went, and it was like a lovely event. And it was really a reminder that for all that we've written and talked about how there's this incredible consumer backlash against Musk, and people in California now hate him, and all the bumper stickers, like, this company still has throngs of adoring fans, and they go to every event. And so, like, I'm walking around, there's all these Cybertrucks, people are wearing t-shirts that say "Don't bet against Elon," and they're wearing t-shirts from like previous product launches. And it was almost like a reunion because a lot of the Tesla influencers were there.
Yeah, Boomer Mama was there, friend of the show.
Boomer Mama was there. People were standing in line to get like selfies with her. Like, she, I could barely talk to her because she was getting thronged by all of these people thanking her for her work. And then there were a lot of panel discussions. And, the reason why I went was because Lars Moravi, who is Tesla's VP of vehicle engineering, was speaking. And he doesn't speak publicly very often. And, it was like a day-long event. There were things for the kids to do. It was like a very positive, very pro-Elon, pro-Tesla event. And then, of course...
What did the kids do?
Oh, well, here, I'll show you. I've got a little thing. There was a 3D printed Cybertruck that you could color. So they were giving out Cybertrucks and crayons, and a lot of kids were coloring them. There was like face painting. There was a balloon guy. A lot of people were there with their families, and employees were there with their families. And, you could like walk around. There were a lot of booths for like aftermarket guys selling accessories to your vehicle.
Got it. So, and what was the mood? I mean, like, where are, among the sort of Tesla, Elon Musk faithful, what are they most excited about?
I think they're all in on the robotaxi and Optimus. And there was a forthcoming Cybercab, which is the car that has no steering wheel, on display.
Right, this was that kind of gold car that Elon unveiled on a soundstage at the end of last year.
Yes. Surrounded by ropes, so I couldn't sit in it, but like the Cybercab was there surrounded by velvet ropes, and like Optimus was there, and like there was a throng of people like taking pictures of both. And what's super interesting about all these people is that like some of them owned a Tesla car and then they became investors in the company. Some of them were investors in the company and then they bought their car. And like Tesla boomer mama, I mean, I don't think she didn't become an investor until like March of 2020. So some of them are like long time. Some of them got involved in the company around the pandemic, but they are all in, and a lot of them, they have like their life savings in this company.
What you just said is so interesting, though, because this is, as you said earlier, the heritage of this event is a Tesla Owners Club event. It is not a Elon Musk meme stock trader event. And yet it really sounds like even more than owning the cars, owning the stock is the thing that unifies this group.
I think it's both. It's just a question of like, which one came first? Did you buy the car first or the stock first? But most people are in both. And it's a community. I mean, it's a real community. And, we can laugh about it, but it is a real community, and that you get the sense that these are people who maybe met online and now have deep friendships. Maybe they saw each other at a product launch. They go on road trips. People meet each other at superchargers. And, like people were talking about, like, let's go on a road trip to see the new Tesla diner, like that kind of thing.
All right, you've brought up the Tesla diner.
Yeah.
And we got to jump to that because amid all this kind of somewhat dire earnings news, the car sales declining, the stock dropped the following day, although it's regained some of that ground. Elon Musk did something spectacular. He unveiled a new line of business, the Tesla diner. It opened in Hollywood. Dana, there was a lot of excitement among the influencer crowd over this.
Yeah, now to be clear, I have not been there, but I actually think it's a brilliant idea because I drove by it when it was under construction, and it's in this kind of older part of Hollywood on Route 66. It was like this empty lot. They built this diner. It has like 2 stories. You can sit, you can order food, but you can also sit in your car and watch a movie. It's got like 80 supercharger stations that are like version 4 of the superchargers. It's a mob scene. Like, people are super into it. It's going to be a tourist attraction. It's a great way to like market the company. Tesla doesn't just sell you the cars, they sell you the whole fueling experience. And like Route 66 like really is this like iconic road trip, thing. And like the fact that you if you drive across the country, you end at Route 66 at this Tesla diner. I think it's going to usher in like a whole new wave of people, and it's been very crowded. There's like lines around the block of people to get into it.
Yeah, I mean, I was watching, or I saw a clip of a KTLA anchor kind of making fun of the food. There have been some negative reviews. Let's give a quick listen.
I went inside with the full intention of ordering even these tacos, but it didn't look very appetizing.
Okay.
And if I'm going to have like a good breakfast, I wanted a good breakfast.
Fair enough.
This is an honest review, guys. Unbiased, honest
I didn't know they had caviar and burritos.
Oh, okay.
So that's how KTLA, a network morning show, was covering it. Dana, I watched that and I thought, ooh, this really shows you what the backlash has done, because I don't think TV networks would have covered it this way 5 years ago, right? Like you said, the design is gorgeous. It is really cool looking when you see the shots of it, and yet, they're kind of making fun of the food. Like, you do wonder if maybe they're, just a few years late launching this thing.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see, like, once the initial hype about it dies down, if it remains this like packed tourist attraction or not. I mean, the protesters are out there in front, with an inflatable Elon doing the awkward gesture. So, I mean, like, it's definitely going to be like a magnet. But I think the other reason why people go is because they think that they might run into executives there, like Franz von Holzhausen, the Tesla's chief designer. He's been there. Lars mentioned that he was there the other night. So, like, if you live in LA or you're visiting LA and you want to like hobnob with executives and engineers, like the diner is like kind of a good spot to try to go, at least in these early days. And so that's, I think, another reason why people are stopping by.
It would be so amazing if Elon just takes all of his meals at the Tesla diner. He's only eating the tallow fried French fries and the fried chicken and waffle or whatever. I have to say, my reaction, a lot of people have talked about the prices on this menu, right? Like, it's kind of expensive. The hot dog costs $13. That's a lot for a hot dog, I guess. Although, is it a lot for a hot dog in Los Angeles? Like, I'm not really sure. But my beef was like, this is not a diner. Diners have table service. This is a fast food restaurant with very expensive food.
Right, like there's no waiters or waitresses, right? In my mind, like a diner, I thought it was going to be more like you're sitting in your car watching a movie and like the diner brings the food to you while you're in your car.
I think there is some of that. That's an option, or you can walk in and order at the counter and get it on a tray. I have to say that the hamburger boxes look like little cyber trucks, apparently. That's cute. That goes along with the theme of the show.
And Optimus is serving popcorn or something.
Not well,
right?
Though. Did you watch the video of Optimus serving the popcorn?
He was
sort of spilling. Yeah. There was a lot of spillage I saw, although you got to say, hey, look, Elon has been trying to find things for Optimus to do, and here they have one. This seemed good. Last thing I want to hit, and we'll move on. Bloomberg reported initially that Samsung has a almost $17 billion deal with Tesla to manufacture chips in its new factory in Texas. Elon confirmed the report. How big a deal do we think? I mean, this is obviously a big deal for Samsung. Does this matter that much for Tesla?
Yeah, I think so. And Elon posted something about how he was going to be personally walking the line and like making sure that quality was up to snuff, and they were going to be very involved. Like they really pitched it as like a partnership. And I think it just means that like chips are a big part of the future, both for autonomy and the robotaxi and for Optimus. And like Elon isn't just, it's not like they're just buying off the shelf chips. Like Elon wants to it sounds like he wants to sort of co-design these and be very involved. And yeah, they're going to need compute to do everything that they want to do.
Yeah, he's going to be walking the line, probably sleeping on the line if history is any guide. And there's, of course, also a political element here because these would be made in the U.S. chips. That, of course, is probably good for Trump and his efforts to onshore, manufacturing.
Made in Texas chips.
Right. So maybe, I'm on the, as you know, Dan, I'm on the lookout for any sign of Mammut. And I feel like this is the tiniest little flicker of a spark, although there have been some Epstein tweets. Elon has not stopped tweeting about Epstein. So I don't know. You give and you take, I suppose. All right, let's move on beyond Tesla to Neuralink. This is the brain implant company. It's been really mysterious, although tons of promise. I've talked about this company a bunch of times on the podcast and their early patients that they've put implants into. July 21st, we got an announcement from Neuralink that had done 2 more surgeries. These are patients 8 and 9, so starting to get up there. And then probably even more significant thing is that Bloomberg reporter Ike Swetlitz, who's joining us now, broke a story with a bunch of detail about the business and about where Neuralink thinks it's going. He's here joining us. Ike, how are you?
Good. Thanks for having me.
So, Ike, this company has been kind of a mystery, at least to me, maybe not to you, beyond the fact that they were doing some really cool experiments, these trials that I think are technically just to show safety, although based on like the social media clips, you're seeing some impressive stuff. Patients who were not able to use their hands, able to essentially play video games by controlling a cursor with their brains. You report a bunch of business plans. The idea, I guess, is 20,000 implants by 2031, $1 billion in annual revenue. These are plans that I think were part of an investor presentation. How are they going to get to that place? On its face, it seems like one of those crazy Elon Musk predictions that's a little bit hard to evaluate.
Yeah, so they sort of have a ramp-up plan that they were presenting here. Right now, they just have announced 9 patients who have gotten these devices. These are not like FDA approved for general commercial use. So these are all in clinical research trials right now.
These are safety trials, I believe. So not even designed to show effectiveness, just that it's safe to do them, to have them in somebody's head.
And they're hoping to get regulatory approval for sort of the first version of that device by 2029, and then ramp it up to 2,000 people a year, 2,000 surgeries a year, then 10,000 a year by 2030, and then 20,000 a year by 2031. So those numbers too, that's not the total number of patients. That's like how many they plan each year. So like several tens of thousands of people they hope will have these devices by 2031.
Can you remind me, like, what are the different products called? Like, I've kind of gotten them confused in my mind. There's several different names now for different things.
Right. So the one that they're testing right now in humans is called telepathy, which they're using to allow humans to manipulate electronic devices, just using their brain without using their hands. So if someone's paralyzed or has severe nerve damage, they can interact with a computer. People have been making videos, playing games, able to type and text and things like that, just using the brain instead of using the hands. And these kind of technologies are a big improvement over sort of older versions of things with eye tracking or controlling sort of a device with maybe a tiny amount of muscle movement that you have. So that's the telepathy implant. They're also working on this implant called blind sight, which they've said, aims to give vision to, people who are blind and eventually superhuman vision. So, vision beyond the normal visible light spectrum, maybe infrared, maybe ultraviolet, things like that. Other animals can see in, different wavelengths.
Wait, is the idea, Ike, that people who are totally blind now would have superhuman vision, or they would just get regular vision, and that people who can see would be upgraded to superhuman?
From what they've said, I think it looks like they want superhuman vision to be available generally. But the idea with these things in general, so that, you can increase sort of people's abilities if you're trying to cure some disease or bring people up to, sort of quote unquote normal, but you could also go beyond that. And that blind sight implant, Neuralink has been testing in monkeys. One of the engineers made a presentation recently about some of the progress with that. Patients are not enrolled in those human trials yet. And then they are also working on this device for Parkinson's and tremors, which is also interesting because that's an area that, many other large medical device companies have treatments for this, deep brain stimulation, things like that.
Ike, the information that you're reporting, these investor presentations, these predictions or projections, why are these documents circulating now? My assumption is always when you see something like this, the suggestion is they're trying to raise money, right? They're circulating these documents because they want to raise money, or why? Where is this kind of coming from? Do you have any sense?
Yeah, so they did just raise money. It was announced in May, a $650 million Series E funding round. So there was, recent fundraising. In terms of upcoming fundraising, if anyone's heard anything, give me a call. But they have been raising money recently.
Got it. Dana, really until Ike said the words superhuman vision, I was thinking to myself, this is such a weird company for Elon Musk because you're talking about long FDA approval. It's kind of a ways away from what we normally think of as an Elon company. These are not really consumer products. Elon likes to make consumer how do you see this fitting in his larger program? Do we need the brain computers to go in the tunnels in Mars, or how does this fit into the master plan?
Yeah, or is it part of, I always wonder, is there some kind of fertility play here? Does this all come back to extending the light of consciousness and making sure that people reproduce, and how do you reproduce on Mars? And is there some kind of Neuralink thing that will stimulate fertility? I don't know, because I feel like everything always comes back to Mars in some way. But I think that Elon is a man of a million ideas. He thinks of companies all the time. He's doing 5 now, but he's probably got 20, thought of 25 for breakfast. His mind is just voracious like that. And I actually don't think it's that big of a departure for him to be doing something that's a machine brain interface. And it's kind of remarkable that he's got these patients who are talking publicly about how life-changing it's been. And there's 9 now that we know of, but I don't think it's a departure for him. I mean, Elon does not like to be a spectator. He wants to be in the arena, whatever is at the forefront. And we are on the cusp of for so many years, the brain was this black box. And there have been major advances in our understanding of the brain in the past couple of decades. And he wants to be a part of that.
Going to one of the questions sort of you had brought up before, Neuralink executives have talked before about how this is a product that, everyone might get. I mean, the president, DJ Seo, said on this very long and comprehensive podcast with Lex Friedman that there's a very real possibility that you could see 8 billion people walking around with Neuralink. Something that I'm curious about is sort of, there's the Neuralink implant and then these different sort of versions of it. They've also talked about, maybe you might have multiple, you might have 1, you might have 2, you might have 3, there's sort of, different sort of configurations of this that you can put in, that you sort of put them in different parts of the brain. So it's this sort of kind of technology that then could be used for a lot of different things in theory.
if we're not comfortable with like red number 4 or whatever, it's hard to imagine the FDA kind of moving super quickly on a brain implant, particularly given that we've had, and this has come up on the show before, I believe the first patient, there were some setbacks, the little wires, I forget what they're called, but they're little very thin fibers kind of were slipping out or some of the fibers were becoming dislodged. Like, we don't really know what the long-term outlook is for these implants. Is the 2029, is that timeline that's laid out in these documents that you reported on, is that seen as realistic within the industry? Does anybody, like, how I guess, and more broadly, like, how realistic are the other people in this field, other investors, taking this?
That's a good question. They're getting investment. Clearly, I'm not sure what people think about sort of how realistic that timeline is. I mean, the FDA has approved, brain implants. Deep brain stimulation, other sorts of things like that. Like, it's the idea of putting something in the brain is not, that's something that has been done many times. So that concept, for many people might be, sort of strange or foreign or whatnot, but it's not something that is sort of completely new to the FDA. I think it's interesting. We haven't seen any peer-reviewed publications about the results from these trials yet, right? Which is, I've written a lot about other pharmaceutical companies, or where you sort of have a trial and then you have a publication, and then the publication is submitted to the that's sort of the data that's submitted to the FDA. So I think that's sort of one of my main questions is Neuralink has been publishing information online sometimes. But I think that seeing more sort of peer-reviewed published data would help people evaluate that too.
Yeah. And of course, that's like often a complaint about this kind of like venture-backed healthcare company, especially with somebody like Musk who loves to kind of paint a futuristic picture. There's the picture, and then there's what the scientific establishment is willing to accept. Ike, we'll let you go. You're gonna have to come back and let us know what the enhancements are going to be, as well as any further developments with this company. Thanks a lot for being here.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, Dana, stick around. One more segment for you. The Boring Company. This is like the forgotten Elon Musk venture, the perpetually, forgotten, youngest child that no one could quite remember even exists. It does exist, and they have a deal to drill a tunnel in Nashville. Apparently, 10 or so miles going from the airport to downtown. There was a big event, or an event in Nashville yesterday. This is Tennessee Governor Bill Lee announcing the move.
The Boring Company is set to transform the airport to downtown travel experience. And for those that live here, it means that there'll be less congestion on our roads, there will be less wear and tear on our highways, and the best part of it all, it's 100% privately funded. There will be no cost to Tennessee taxpayers.
Dan, I can't remember, have you been to the Vegas Loop? The version of this in Las Vegas?
I have not had the honor, Max.
The Vegas Loop, Dana, you'll know this, but maybe some listeners won't. It's pretty underwhelming. It's basically a couple of miles of very narrow tunnels that primarily go between different ends of the Las Vegas Convention Center, which, to be fair, is a very large convention center, but you go in a regular car. It doesn't go very fast. It has a regular driver. The only thing that's really futuristic about it is the color scheme inside of the tunnel. It's kind of like a little bit lame. On the other hand, Boring has been doing this for a very long time, and it's the only thing that they've really managed to get built of any substance. This would be a second one. So I guess in that sense, you got to look at this as a win, even if it's just an announcement and there are lots of approvals and so on that would be necessary to make this happen.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's a win in that, people kind of forget about the Boring Company. Like, what are they doing? This tunnel thing? Is it really just about tunneling in Mars? And the fact that they're still apparently getting these contracts and approvals and having governors of states sort of announce them means that they're going forward. I think, to me, what's sort of interesting is that, like, Elon has really got a thing for Tennessee now, because XAI has this massive data center in Memphis. Now you've got this, what are they calling it? Like the Music City Loop.
Yeah, Music City Loop. Nashville being the Music City.
Music City Loop, apparently in Nashville, they're having like a hiring event. So his empire is continuing to expand into this very interesting kind of red state that is the center of a lot of logistics. I mean, a lot of logistics companies kind of use Nashville as their base of operating. So I just think when we think of Elon writ large, and like if you think about congressional districts and where he has installations, now Tennessee is a really big part of his empire.
Yeah, absolutely. And Nashville's kind of it's an Elon sort of town, right? Like LA, it's got a big music industry, of course. It's a big tourist attraction, obviously. So you could kind of see the affinity. I will say it's very early. And although on one hand, you look at this and you say, wow, for the feud with Trump and all the ways that Elon Musk has been divisive, he's still able to command the respect of the governor of a state. We don't really know how this plays out. In Las Vegas, a lot of local officials were not thrilled with the loop. A couple of years ago, actually interviewed the mayor of Las Vegas, and she voted to approve the loop, but she did not like it. She thought it was basically modest tourist attraction, and she basically just felt she couldn't vote against it because the taxpayers were not paying for it. It was paid for by the Boring Company and the Las Vegas Convention Center Association. Kind of a similar thing here. We don't know exactly who's paying for this, but we do know, according to Governor Lee, that the taxpayers are not paying for it. Also, Nashville has a Democratic mayor. He was not at the event, kind of conspicuously. Often when you have big events like this, the mayor wants to take credit because this means jobs. So again, I think we will see just how far Elon Musk's political capital will take him. But who knows, Dana? Maybe in a couple years, you and I can fly down to Nashville and take that express car, take a little Tesla, maybe 35, 40 miles an hour, straight from the airport to downtown.
Well, that sounds great. I think we need to do our Route 66 road trip first.
No, we're going to the diner before then, of course. This episode was produced by Stacey Wong and edited by Anna Mazarakis. Blake Maples handles engineering and Dave Purcell fact checks. Our supervising producer is Magnus Henriksen. Welcome back, Magnus. The Elon Inc. theme is written and performed by Taka Yasuzawa and Alex Sugiura. Sage Bauman is the head of Bloomberg Podcasts. A big thanks to our supporters, Joel Weber and Brad Stone. I'm Max Chafkin. If you have a minute, rate and review our show. It'll help other listeners find us, and we'll see you next week.